It is 3500 BC. You are standing in a city of 50,000 people. There are streets, markets, laws, a government, taxes. This is Uruk, in what is now southern Iraq. And this moment right here is the birth of civilization as we know it. Welcome to ChronoVault. Today we go back further than most history classes ever dare. We are going to ancient Mesopotamia, the place where everything began. Not some things. Everything. Writing, law, cities, schools, mathematics, astronomy, the wheel, beer. The 60-minute hour you check on your phone right now, that came from here. This is the story of the world's first empire. And it is stranger, more sophisticated, and more connected to your daily life than you ever imagined. Mesopotamia. The word is Greek. It means land between the rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates, two great rivers that carved through what is now modern Iraq, flowing from the mountains of Turkey down to the Persian Gulf. Why here? Why did civilization begin in this particular spot? The answer is simple: water. Every year the rivers flooded. And every year, when the waters retreated, they left behind a layer of incredibly rich, dark soil. Soil that could grow food almost effortlessly. When you can grow more food than you need, something remarkable happens. People no longer have to spend all their time farming. They can specialize. One person makes pots. Another builds houses. Another keeps records. Another leads. This is the recipe for civilization. Surplus food, specialization, and suddenly a city. The Sumerians were the first. Their civilization flourished from roughly 4500 to 1900 BC. They built the first cities, invented the first writing system, created the first legal codes, and gave us the foundations of almost everything we consider modern. Their key cities were Uruk, Eridu, Lagash, and Nippur, each one a world unto itself, each one a center of art, religion, trade, and governance. Let's talk about what the Sumerians actually invented, because the list will astonish you. Writing. Around 3200 BC, the Sumerians developed cuneiform, the world's first writing system. They pressed wedge-shaped marks into clay tablets using a reed stylus. The earliest texts were accounting records, grain inventories, cattle counts. Bureaucracy came before poetry. The wheel. Not just the wheel for carts, the potter's wheel came first. Around 3500 BC, the Sumerians figured out that spinning clay produced perfect, uniform vessels faster than any other method. The plow. Agriculture became dramatically more efficient when you could cut furrows in the earth with an animal-pulled blade instead of digging by hand. Schools. The Sumerians built the first formal schools, called Eduba, or tablet houses. Children learned to write, calculate, and recite literature. In 3000 BC, mathematics. They developed a number system based on 60. This is why we have 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, and 360 degrees in a circle. You are using Sumerian mathematics every single day. Astronomy. They mapped the stars with extraordinary precision. They identified the 5 visible planets. They tracked the movements of the moon and predicted lunar cycles. And then there is beer. The oldest written recipe in human history is a beer recipe. A Sumerian hymn to Ninkasi, the goddess of brewing, written around 1800 BC, contains detailed instructions for making beer from bread. The Sumerians didn't just drink beer casually. Workers were paid in beer. It was a currency, a staple, a sacred offering to the gods. Civilization began with accounting records and beer recipes, which, when you think about it, is entirely on brand for humanity. For hundreds of years, the Sumerian city-states competed with each other, traded, fought, formed alliances. It was a world of rival powers, each one convinced of its own supremacy. Then, in 2334 BC, everything changed. A man named Sargon rose to power in the city of Akkad. We don't know much about his origins. The legends say he was a foundling, abandoned as a baby, placed in a basket and set adrift on a river, rescued and raised by a gardener. Sound familiar? That story appears in Sargon's biography over 1,000 years before Moses. Sargon conquered every Sumerian city-state. Then he kept going. He built the world's first multi-ethnic empire, the Akkadian Empire, stretching from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean Sea. He was the first person in history to hold together a diverse empire with a unified administration, a professional army, and standardized weights and measures. He reigned for 56 years. By the time he died, the very concept of empire had been invented. His granddaughter, Enheduanna, became the world's first named author, a poet and high priestess whose hymns to the goddess Inanna survive to this day. 3,000 years before Shakespeare, a woman was writing literature and signing her name to it. Jump forward to 1754 BC. Babylon is now the dominant power, and its king, Hammurabi, does something extraordinary. He carves 282 laws into a stone pillar nearly 2.3 meters tall, and has copies placed throughout the empire so that everyone, from the richest merchant to the poorest farmer, can see the law. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. That phrase comes directly from the Code of Hammurabi. But that's not the most remarkable part. The code also contains minimum wage protections, consumer protection laws, rights for women to divorce abusive husbands, legal protections for slaves, regulations governing doctors, builders, and merchants. 3,700 years ago, a king was writing laws to protect workers and consumers. The next time someone tells you labor rights are a modern idea, remember Hammurabi. No empire lasts forever. After Babylon came the Assyrians, fierce, disciplined, and technologically advanced. They built the first professional standing army. They used iron weapons when everyone else still used bronze. They built a library, the Library of Ashurbanipal, containing over 30,000 clay tablets, the greatest collection of knowledge in the ancient world. Then the Assyrian Empire collapsed, as all empires do. Babylon rose again under Nebuchadnezzar II. The Hanging Gardens, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. The Ishtar Gate, covered in brilliant blue glazed tiles and golden dragons. A city of wonders, at the center of the known world. Then Persia swept in. Cyrus the Great conquered Babylon in 539 BC, famously without a battle. He simply diverted the river and walked his army through the dry riverbed. And here is the crucial thing. Each empire absorbed the one before it. The knowledge didn't die. The mathematics passed to the Persians. The Persians passed it to the Greeks. The Greeks passed it to Rome. Rome gave it to medieval Europe. And medieval Europe gave it to you. The chain of knowledge from Sumer to your smartphone is unbroken. Most people think ancient people were primitive. But Mesopotamian doctors had medical textbooks listing hundreds of conditions, symptoms, and treatments. Some of their herbal remedies are still medically validated today. Their astronomers tracked the planet Venus for 21 consecutive years and predicted its movements with 99.89% accuracy, without telescopes, using nothing but observation and mathematics. Their engineers built ziggurats, massive step temples, 7 stories tall, made from millions of fired bricks, that have survived for 4,000 years. The only thing primitive about ancient Mesopotamia is that they got there first. Take a moment and think about what came from Mesopotamia. The 60-minute hour. Every time you check the time, Mesopotamia. The 7-day week. Ancient Sumerian astronomy identified 7 celestial bodies. The sun, the moon, and 5 visible planets. 7 days named for each one. Written law. The idea that laws should be written down, publicly displayed, and apply equally to all people. Mesopotamia. Schools. The concept of organized education where students learn to read, write, and calculate. Mesopotamia. Beer. 7,000 years of fermentation, from Sumerian breweries to your nearest bar. Organized religion. The first temples, the first priests, the first religious hierarchies. Mesopotamia. Bureaucracy. Record-keeping. Administration. The systems that hold large societies together all originated here. Everything that makes modern civilization possible has roots in the land between the rivers. Number 1. The Epic of Gilgamesh, written around 2100 BC, contains a great flood story with a hero who builds a boat and saves animals from a divine flood, written more than 1,000 years before the biblical version of Noah. Number 2. Mesopotamian astronomers tracked the movements of the planet Venus for 21 consecutive years and predicted its future positions with 99.89% accuracy. Without a single telescope. Using nothing but clay tablets, reed styluses, and extraordinary mathematical minds. Number 3. The word alcohol comes from the Arabic al-kuhul, but the practice of fermentation itself, brewing alcoholic drinks intentionally, was invented in Mesopotamia at least 7,000 years ago. They weren't just civilized. They were well lubricated. The wheel, the written word, the rule of law, the measurement of time, schools, beer, empires, literature,